So I'm attempting to replicate a human knee using Nvidia Omniverse. Okay, why am I doing that? Well, I'm trying to scratch my own itch. A couple of years ago, I had a knee injury and surgery, and I wasn't able to find a brace that was just built for me, that I could surf with, that was tailored just for my injury, and that I could get back out on the water, and that was very light. So what I've decided to do is replicate my own knee in Omniverse and then build a few braces that work just for me. And from those, take a few of the candidates that are working well in simulation and actually go and build those in the workshop. Now, another reason I'm trying to do this is I'm trying to learn Omniverse really, really well. It's an incredible software suite. And what better way to learn it than try and solve something really complex with it? So even if I don't manage to build the knee brace, I think I'm going to learn a hell of a lot just with this project, but I actually have a lot of confidence in the software that it's up to the job of what I'm trying to do. Now, this is going to take me a few months. This is just the first week's progress, and what I've focused on mostly in the first week is some foundations of building an Omniverse extension that will help me configure and build the little bits and pieces as I'm building the knee so I don't have to do it manually. So I plan to do a weekly video with my progress. They're not going to be too polished, just an update on what I've done. And here is what I've done in the first week. So what I started with is I had a chat with ChatGPT, and I said if I was constructing a very, very simple geometry of a thigh and a calf, and I wanted to start with the very basic ligaments that might be holding those two structures together, what would I start with? And this is what ChatGPT said. It would put in the ACL and PCL. Okay, so those are the anterior cruciate and the posterior cruciate. We're going to ignore those for now, but I've actually started with the MCL and LCL, so medial collateral ligament or lateral collateral ligament here. It's got a slightly different name on Z anatomy. So the medial collateral ligament in Z anatomy is actually put here as the, let's find it. It's this one over here, which is the tibial collateral ligament. Okay, so this is the ligament on the inside of the knee that stops the knee from bending inwards. If there's an impact from the other side, it'll prevent it from going inwards. And on the other side, let's look here, this is the other ligament it suggested, which was this, the fibular collateral ligament. Again, that's what it says here. Fibular collateral ligament, and this provides lateral stability, so resisting forces outward buckling. So if there was a force coming from this side towards here, it would hold it from buckling outwards. So I'm going to show you now a super simple version of the thigh and the calf with these two ligaments and see how that restricts the motion in the way it's supposed to. So let's have a look at that. Okay, so here we are in the editor. This is not full Isaac Sim. This is just a simple editor without any of the bells and whistles, just enough to get some physics going here. And this is where I'm busy building my extension. And I'll take you through the extension in a moment, but we can see here, this top item here is our upper leg and the bottom item is our lower leg. And these two strands here represent the two ligaments we just talked about. So what we want to make sure is there is lateral or sideways stability. So now if we run the simulation, let's look at the side that does not have that stability there. So let's rotate around this way. Now if I push shift and I pull, we can see there's a lot of movement that way. And we can see if I pull in the other direction, there's a lot of movement backwards. But if we do the same thing sideways, where we've actually got the ligaments holding it, it should not give us nearly as much movement. So if we look there and we run and we pull sideways this way, it only has a little bit of movement, and sideways that way, only a little bit of movement. So far, our ligaments in a very basic form are doing what they need to do. Okay, so here is my what I call my strands extension, because it's building strands which make up the ligaments. And let's just go ahead and start and let's set up an environment. Okay, that creates us a ground stage and some lighting. And then what I've got is what I call mounting prims. So I'll show you, let's create a mounting prim. Okay, and that's a prim that we can mount a strand to. So we can see we've got one over there. And let's create another one there a little bit to the left, and we've got two mounting prims. Now, what we can also do is we can now add a strand to that mounting prim. So we can define a strand here, and that is a series of elements, which are cubes or spheres, etc. And after that sphere will be a joint, and then it repeats an element and a joint, an element and a joint to make a strand. And I'll show you in a moment where in Isaac Sim I got inspiration from that. There's some really nice examples that do something similar to that. But let's just go ahead and create a very simple strand. We've just got one here, which is cubes and then prismatic drives. So if we go here down to creating a strand, and we select the prim we want to create it on, and we've got, let's say, 6 elements we want in there, and we just specify the spacing, and we click add hanging strand. There we go, it's added a strand. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to load one that I already created. So let's open an existing one, and this 1.2, and actually sorry, let's open this 1.1. And now that I've opened 1.1, we've got these 2 mounting prims. Let's just look at the stage, and so we can see we've got mounting prim 1, and then we've got strand 1, and strand 1 is made up of element 0, 1, 2, 3, and joints in between. And if we want to see those joints, let's just go ahead and look at physics joints. Yeah, and we can see each of those joints. So there's a prismatic joint, and it gives us an upper and lower limit, and we've actually got some drive applied to that. So let's just hide those quickly. And here's the interesting thing. I've created these 2 strands identically with the same stiffnesses in them, but on these prims that I've hung at the end here, what we will notice is this prim here is set to be 40, and this prim is set only to be 1. And we'll see as we run the simulation, this one pulls way more on the strand, and the strand gives way more. So let's just go ahead and run that, and we can see, there we go. Because that is 40, that pulls, and because this is only 1, it doesn't manage to pull the strand. So we're actually simulating some kind of ligament type or some kind of rope material with our series of elements and joints. And here we can see another file I've created with the extension, and we've got 4 mounting prims, each one with a slightly different strand. So these first 2 are made up of cubes, but we can see the first one, if we run it, doesn't have any drive applied to it, so the strand just hangs, whereas the second one has some drive pulling it inwards with quite a bit of stiffness, so we need to pull quite hard, and then it jumps back up. And then this one's like the first one, except it's made of spheres, so there's no drive applied, it just hangs freely. And then the last one is a mixture of cubes and spheres, and also a mixture of prismatic and spherical joints. So you can see, whereas these ones don't have a lot of lateral movements, this one, if we grab it, we can twist it all over the show like that. So now what I've done is I've gone and removed the fixed joints that attach these strands to these boxes. So as I push play, these strands are going to drop to the ground. So let's have a look at how they behave. So there we go. Each of them are dropping to the ground. And let's zoom out a little bit, and let us actually zoom in and go to this strand and move it around a little bit. And we can see, because it's prismatic, it's mostly moving inwards and outwards with a little bit of sideward motion. This one's going to behave a little bit differently, because remember, this was the very stiff one. So I'm going to pull it, but because there's nothing heavy holding it on the other side, it's going to stay together. And let's topple this one down. And this one is prismatic as well, so mostly just moving in and out. But this is the one that's got the prismatic and spherical joints. So we're going to see this one's got a lot more bendiness. So as we pick this one up, we can bend it all over the show and swing it around. So it's really interesting to see, as we combine the various elements with the various joint types, we can almost replicate different types of ropes or strings or strands or materials. And that's what we're trying to do. I'm going to spend a bit of time over the next few days working with the various combinations to try and get some kind of ligament type of behavior. And when I do my video next week, hopefully I'll have something much closer as a ligament to show you. But we can already see that those 2 ligaments we created for the thigh and the calf are preventing the sideways motion. So although they're not anatomically correct, they're starting to do the first parts of what a ligament needs to do. So now I'm just going to walk you through how I actually created that thigh and that calf and the joints, connecting them. And you can see why I'm building this strands extension because it's going to make my life easier. I'm obviously going to build a lot more functionality into it, but for now it creates a very nice sort of lab environment to be able to create and test out things. So we can see what I did is I first set up the environment, and then what I did is I went to our mounting prim, and instead of just a 1x1 box, let's just move this up to a Z of 7, and then on the Z scale I made it 3. So we're just going to and let's just sort of name it. So this is going to be thigh, and there we go, it's created our thigh. And we're going to create another one which will be calf, and also going to be 3 on the Z, but then let's put this at 3 as far as the position, and there we go, it creates it just below. And now what we want to do is we want to create some mounting points. So I'm going to click on this top one here, and we're going to call these attachment points. So a small area which will act as sort of like the little bony structures that come out of the bone where the ligaments attach to. So what we're going to do is we're going to choose the left face, and we're going to create one, and we can see here if we go. Sorry, I haven't chosen the prim yet. Okay, so there we go. And it creates it over there. And then I'm going to move that downwards. Zoom in. There we go. And then what I'll do is I will create a fixed joint between these two. So right click, create, physics, joint, fixed joint. And then I will create a mounting point on the bottom bone. And there's the attachment point, and I will bring it further up there. And again, create a fixed joint. Obviously this will be automated in the next few days. Joint, fixed joint. And now once we've created these two mounting attachment points, we can select the first one, and then we will say that is the starting prim, and we can select the next one, and we will say that is the ending prim. And then I know this is going to be about 7 segments. I'm busy setting it up to auto calculate, and then we just click add connecting strand, and there we go. So now it's added the strand, it's connected on both sides, it's set the stiffness, and if we can see, if we simulate now, there we go, that strand connects the two together. And we can see here, although we have a JSON structure which defines exactly how the strand's going to be built, we can use the element and joint boxes here to actually create exactly what that strand's going to look like. So we can say the next thing we want in the JSON structure is a sphere, and we can set the radius of the sphere, and we add that element. And then the next joint we want is, let's say, a spherical joint with those dimensions on this axis, and we add that, and you can see it's sort of just creating this series of joints that will repeat for as many segments as we define within the strand. And as I said, within Isaac Sim, I got some of the inspiration from the physics examples. So if we go, for example, joints, and we open that up and we look at rigid body ropes, and we load the scene, we can see here we have ropes, and these are actually made up of a capsule and a joint, and they've used a point instancer, which is just a way to have one object repeated many times in a more memory efficient way, which I'm planning to add the option to my extension to use a point instancer. And if we go to articulations and we click on that first one and we load the scene, we've got what looks like a rope. Let's just turn off the joints there, and we run that, and we can see we've got a similar rope kind of structure. And this one is composed of, let's have a look here. Okay, so this one is not a point instancer. This is actually building each of the capsules and revolute joints. So this one, instead of being prismatic or spherical joints like I've used, uses revolute joints. So it just shows you each of the joints can be used to make strands with different properties, and these are two really nice examples to take some inspiration from. Okay, so that's it for this week. Looking forward to showing you what I've done next week. And if you're enjoying this content, please consider liking or subscribing. Till next week. Ciao, ciao.